welcome. My name's Daniel Canter, Zach just introduced me. I'm head of the Centre of Expertise for Knowledge Management in ASML. We're part of the Learning and Knowledge Management organisation. We put learning and knowledge management together because we think that actually it's about performance and it's about supporting people to perform in their roles. And that takes a big part of knowledge management, but of course there's a massive part of learning. The learning people say that knowledge management is part of learning, but of course knowledge management know that actually learning is a tool that knowledge management use in order to make things stick in people's heads. But let's not talk about that too much. We're here for semantic layers. How do I make this move forward? Pointed at the laptop. Okay, so basically I'll introduce ASML. I don't know if many of you know about ASML. The BBC said we're a little known company about 4 years ago. I think that's changed a little bit now. We're a little bit more in the news. Kind of a hot topic. And what do? I will introduce that soon. I'm going to talk about semantic layer. To be honest, before I came to this talk, the term semantic layer didn't really mean anything to me. And I had to look it up. And once I looked it up, I realized, oh yeah, that's what we're doing. That's cool. So I will try and give you our impression of what a semantic layer is from a knowledge management perspective. And then I'll talk about the complexities in our organization that create the challenges that we need to solve. We'll talk about how we're planning to solve those. We'll look at our approach and our progress so far. Malcolm set me up really nicely because he was talking about these are things that are coming. Well, actually, these are things that we are doing. So we're bringing the worlds together. Let me introduce ASML. So here's some boring numbers for everybody who's interested. We started in 1984. We were quite small, 50 people in a shed, sponsored by Philips at the time. They invented a DUV machine that's deep ultraviolet. Basically, that was the type of laser they were using. And they print the lines on the wafers that create chips, microchips. So any chip that you have anywhere, the good chance is it's been made with one of our machines. We have 42,000 employees, 144 different nationalities, all in one location as well. Those nationalities, we are spread all over the world, of course, more than 60 locations. We make some good money. We have fantastic margin, but of course, half of that is pumped back into R&D. So our business strategy is to keep breaking the boundaries of technology and do things that no one else can do. The smartest people in our company are the marketing guys, because they are talking to the customer, and the customer saying, I want to do this, and our marketing guys say, that's impossible, we'll go and do that for you. A couple of years later, there it is. So we're highly innovative and really breaking the boundaries of technology as often as we possibly can. What this doesn't tell you is of those 42,000 people, 26,000 or nearly 30,000 of them have joined the company in the last 4 years. So 60% of our company has been in the organization for less than 4 years, which obviously brings a lot of challenges. The most one being that nobody can find anything. Nobody knows what the processes are. And the networks that we used to have are very diluted with new people, so no one really knows who to go to find what information. And that's why we're doing knowledge management. So ASML introduces itself a little better. So let me just show you the promotional video. Looks fancy, but basically it's a giant laser printer. So, the semantic journey. So we're starting on this journey, and yeah, let's get stuck in. Oh, pointing it the wrong way. So basically, the purpose is for knowledge management. We talk about knowledge management in terms of people to content, people to people, and content to people. The idea being that people need to find the documentation, they need to find what we have in the organization, they need to know how to build a machine, they need to know what the standards are, but they also need to know how to set up their mobile phone. They need to know what the HR policies are, they need to know which bus to take between the buildings, and how do I find that. We also really a knowledge-based company. We're the only people that know what we know, and therefore finding the right person who can help you understand what's been done or how it works is super important. And as I said, the growth means that we have a large amount of people that don't really know who is that exact expert I need to speak to make sure that the glue formula I'm using is the right one. And then content to people. So once we know who everybody is and we know what all our content is and where it is, then we can really start making sure people get the right information at the right time. And that goes back to the performance support. So there's no point sitting in a training room for 3 weeks, although we do that. It's much better to sit in a training room for a week, learn your basics, learn your health and safety, and then really have, at the moment of need, when you're at your workstation, the information you need to really be able to put that bit together properly or service it or whatever it is that you need to do. So what is a semantic layer? As I said at the start, I had no idea. Yeah, it's something I heard from ancient times when they used to write on wax tablets, and the semantic layers are all the layers of writing that's been put on those tablets over time. That's where the concept comes from, I heard. But actually, that's not really applicable to business. So I also looked it up and found another fantastic definition. Semantic layer is a business representation of corporate data that helps end users access data autonomously. Yeah. So what does that mean? Basically, as far as I understand it, it's a way of describing the language of your organization and the relationships between the different elements of the language in your organization so that you can apply that to your systems and really help your organization be able to find the stuff and find the people that they need. And again, I'm using that word stuff, Zach's word. Companies have a lot of stuff. I mean, we have more than 74,000 SharePoints. I think it's about 82, so 2 for every employee. We have about 700 terabytes of data on SharePoint, and SharePoint is one of our 1,800 systems. So it's pretty complicated. So what we need is to be able to navigate through all of this. AI is coming. AI is a good navigator. And basically, we need to help it all. We need to help it know what it's talking about. So basically, simplified, the semantic layer helps systems and applications know what they're talking about. So you can apply a large language model to ASML, and it will provide you with lots of fantastic answers. It will be very certain it's the right answer, and I can guarantee it won't be, because it might take 4 documents that look the same, make an assumption that they are the same, and then tell you what the summary of those 4 documents is. A little anecdote, I was talking to this guy, and he said, yeah, I was talking about a gas propulsion system for a pipe, only we don't call it that, we call it a propulsion system. We call it pipe movement, fluid flow, gas flow. We call it flow through a pipe. He was having a conversation with another guy, and they were talking for 20 minutes, and then one realized that actually he was talking about gas flowing through the pipe, and the other guy was talking about water flowing through the pipe. But they didn't realize for 20 minutes, because the technologies overlap a lot. They both use the same kind of pipe, same kind of pumps sometimes, but they weren't aware for 20 minutes. That's a long time to have a conversation with someone on a different topic than the one you're thinking about, particularly innovative when you have 3 PhDs. So that leads us to our challenges. We really are a company that has unique knowledge. We are the only people in the world that know what we know. We're the only company in the world that can do what we do at the moment. Competition is coming, but they haven't worked out how to do it in the way that we do. So our machines are the fastest, they are the best. I'm not very humble on that, that is the case. But at the same time, this really creates a lot of challenges, because it basically means we have a unique language. We have unique technology, and that defines a unique language. We have a lot of local initiatives, so we are not a centralized organization. We believe that innovation happens at the source, and therefore you need to give freedom to the people at the source to really invent and do what they do. Of course, our R&D guys do the really clever stuff, and then we have our development and engineering who take the clever stuff, do some more clever stuff, invent a prototype, they give it to the manufacturing guys, they go, oh, this is a working prototype, okay. Then they make it work, and they build a machine, and every machine is unique, by the way, and then they pass that on to the customer support guys, and they go, thanks for this tested machine that was tested in our own fabrication unit. They install it at the customer and it still doesn't work. So they spend a little bit of time tinkering and innovating again. So we have innovation on every step, which basically means that we have applications and AI applications and very clever things going on all the way across the organization. And these are not yet properly connected. This creates inconsistency. So you have a unique language, you have all the different people doing their own thing, and everybody does it in their own way and in a different way. 144 different cultures, 144 different languages. Yeah, we have a real fragmentation, and everything is all over the place. So that basically means that there's a lack of consistency in the way we talk about things, the way we describe things, and the way that we try and integrate our different systems together. It does all come together because the machines do go out the door at the end of the year, and every year a few more machines than the last. So it seems to work, but it's difficult. And what we need is to create more harmonization across the organization. We are never going to get everybody to speak the same language, and we shouldn't try, but we can get our systems to know about these differences. As Malcolm said, you have your marketing and you have your finance. For us, it's more you have your HR and your finance, and then you have your engineers. And you have your D&E engineers, development engineering, and your customer support engineers. Development and engineering, you can have 200 people working on a square centimetre of the machine, but in customer support, they need to know the whole thing. So you have depth in one place and you have span in the other. That basically means we need to find a way of connecting all of these different worlds together. And then, of course, we have a complex organisational structure. We're born on the back of innovation. We are project-based, but of course you have a financial hierarchy, and you have your project teams, and then we have our competence centres, and then we have our business lines, and then we have our organisation. So it's really difficult to deal with that kind of complexity. Even just to find where in the organisation someone sits is very difficult because they may be working in customer support today, but actually they're from R&D. Or it could be they're sitting in finance, but actually they know more about that particular component in the machine than anybody else because they invented it. So it's super, super complicated. So just to give you some examples, there's very simple examples, not technical, because neither am I. We take our organisational structure, for example. So we have 6 different ways of defining our organisational structure. We've got the financial reporting lines. A lot of our project work is built to the customer, and therefore the financial reporting lines have a particular structure. But of course, you have your hierarchical reporting lines, as in who's your boss, who decides whether you're doing a good job or not, quite often not the person you're working for. And then you have your business line structure. Business lines are basically our product lines. They are the profit and loss part of our organisation, so they drive the money. But they also drive the business demand, they drive the customer demand, and they tell everybody else what to do, and everybody else ignores them, does their own thing, and then gives it back to them and says, is this what you want? We then have our business sectors, so we group up into our sectors: development engineering, customer support. Actually, customer support and manufacturing are part of an operations sector. Operations also includes sourcing and supply chain. So you can see, I can talk about this complexity for a long time. But basically, the result of this is that you recognise where you work, you know who you're working with, and you recognise you're part of the organisational structure. And someone somewhere else recognises it in a very different way. When I explain the company, people go, yeah, it doesn't really work like that. Because where they sit, it works differently. And this is embedded in all our systems, it's embedded in all our content, and it's embedded in the heads of all of our people. And of course, people have jobs. So we have job roles, we have competencies that people have, we also have skills. But of course, one employee has multiple job roles. So as an engineer, there are a number of things I need to do. I need to build stuff up, I need to take stuff apart, I need to do problem solving. I have a managerial role, I'm a line manager. So there's a lot of different roles people have. And of course, the role has multiple competencies. And some people call a competency a skill, some people call a skill a competency. But of course, the same competence is used in different roles. And of course, each role needs a whole bunch of skills. So I hope you're starting to get a bit confused. I'm a bit confused. Basically, we're trying to define this. This is a little bit about the semantic layers. We're trying to create some clarity in all of this so that people understand why it's complex and how it works. So I would argue that a job role is made up of competencies, and to be competent in something, you have to have the skills in order to do it. And of course, skills, behavioral, also not, but yeah, it's a mess. And I only have one job, by the way. So I have one job, I have competencies, I have skills, some are technical, some are behavioral. I have a competence in leadership, apparently, but I have skills in how to coach and manage my team. But of course, at the same time, I have a lot of confusion in my mind, and I look around the room and I see people thinking, what is he talking about? This is the chaos of a big organization. If you have more than 20, 30,000 people in your company, these are the things that start to happen because you have siloed groups in the organization working for their specific task on their specific stuff, trying to connect to everybody else who is talking a different language. So that leads to a lot of complexities. Basically, yeah, we have these unique definitions. That means there's no off-the-shelf solution. We have to build it ourselves. No one is going to tell us about our 40,000 plus abbreviations and what they mean. We have one abbreviation that means 25 different things. If you're in the right area of the business and you talk to them, they know exactly what it means in their part of the business. I have heard people use sentences that had the word and the rest was all acronyms. And usually these are the technical guys. So it's usually quite technical stuff they're talking about. And of course, not all of our organization is technical. You have a lot of enabling functions. And yeah, an HR person doesn't understand the depth of technology. Well, actually, some of them do, because some of them do have 2 or 3 PhDs in technology. But yeah, and then you have fragmented ownership. Like I said, it's everywhere. So everybody who builds an application, builds an AO tool to put on top of it, builds a structure, builds an organization, they talk about it in their own way, and they create their own set of definitions. We have 194 competence centers. Each of them, one of the tasks they have is to build a classification, which means we have 194 classifications. Our competence centers are not all technology-based. Some are around lean, for example. Some are to do with supply chain management. But they all have their own classification system. So when they talk to each other, like I say, for 20 minutes, you don't necessarily know quite exactly what the topic can be. So this is creating a lot of problems. And of course, that means that we have total disconnection on all our semantic layers. They don't talk to each other. They don't understand each other. So at the moment, a semantic layer really talking about a classification system, maybe an ontology where it's all connected together. I know in this room I can talk about ontologies and you guys know what I mean, which is great. And so, you know, we need to fix this. So we set up organization to do that. And of course, that means there's lots of different people responsible for data definitions. I've only mentioned the 3 here. We have the Chief Data Office. They are doing the structured data. They talk about structured data, and then they talk about metadata, and then they talk about definition of terms. So I'm thinking a location is structured data, and you define the location by what type it is. Is it a factory? Is it an office? Is it a customer location? And I'm thinking, is that really structured data? For me, no, but for them, yes. And then we have our communications department. So this is how you talk about ASML. This is how you present to the outside world. This is how we communicate internally. This is the preferred term that we like to use. Yeah, they're trying to connect the internal and external language. I don't know if you've ever seen our old CEO, Martin Ten Brink, talk. We didn't really let him out into the public world very often, to be honest. Because when he started talking, it got so technical that even the technical guys kind of glazed over and didn't know what was going on anymore. And so the communication guys are trying to create this simplified language so that we can really communicate what we do much more clearly to our customers and to the outside world. So they have definitions, they do translations, they have all this stuff to do all of that, but it's not connected to the data office. And then you have the knowledge management teams. So I'm in the center of expertise. We have global coverage. Each of the big sectors has a knowledge management team. And then as you get into the departments, there's not so much teams, but people working on knowledge management. Again, they define these classifications, they work with the technologies, and they're trying to connect and link. So the difference, I think, between the data office and knowledge management is in knowledge management, we talk to everybody. The data office talk to the data people. We are trying to connect the organization together. We're trying to bring the groups together to help them collaborate and understand each other better. The data office is just trying to make sure that the definitions match. And that when you talk about Brussels in China and you talk about Brussels in the US, that you're talking about the office location or the factory, but not both. And then, of course, we have all the different stuff that's going on in terms of IT and applications. I only put a little bit on. So we have 40 Gen AI initiatives going on. We have 3 large language models. We are very strict on data security, very strict indeed. And therefore, we bring we've taken open source, we've brought it in-house, and we've kind of used them in-house. What we haven't done is taught them about our language. So if you're designing a learning and you feed in all of that content, it will give you something useful. It gives you a massive jump start, but you then need to give it to the technical guys to review and edit and check. And as yet, yeah, it's not really working so well. And of course, 40 initiatives means you have 40 different ways of using the application. You have 40 different groups of people trying to work out how do we communicate with this AI in a way that means it knows what we're talking about. Yeah, we've got 9 of these are actively running. The other 31 are kind of pilots, proof of concepts. And of course, they're across 13 different areas of the business. So again, a lot of fragmentation and disconnection. We have 5 search projects that I know about. I think 3 of them are enterprise search. We use the standard technologies, you know, Microsoft, PM custom, open source PMP. We use, all kinds of different stuff. We've got Elasticsearch, we've got all kinds of different search engines. And again, they are indexing, they're using different graph technology, they are not connected, they are connected to different parts of the organization. So there is very difficult to get an overview of what's going on. Part of that is by design, to be honest, because of course, if we have something plugged into everything and someone hacks it, then they get all of our knowledge and data. They can build the machine, go ahead, but it won't work. Because the way it works is in people's heads. And that's the other element that we don't really have here. You can have all the technology in the world, but if you can't extract the knowledge that people have about it in their heads that really makes it work, actually, you need to turn it just a little bit more and then it will run smoothly. Those kind of things, you just can't teach AI because AI is not being told that these things exist. I'll give you an example. So we have a factory in the US that is basically polishing lenses. They have work instructions. Everybody knows you mount it like this, you do that, you put this on it, off it goes and it polishes. So we have 10 or 15 people working there, and there are only 2 guys that when they polish the lens, it's perfect. Anybody else, they have to then go to one of these 2 guys and say, why is this not right? And it's because it's tacit, you feel it. How hard is the cloth? Is it wet enough? Yeah, you can say you put 3 millimeters of gloop on it, but that's not what it's about. It's not about 3 millimeters because this lens is a nanometer thicker than the other one, and therefore you need to put 3.0001, and actually it's that rather than that. And these things are really difficult to train your AI in because no one is putting this into a system or into a document because it's touchy-feely. We're starting to do that. And then, of course, automation. So we need to automate, we need to have robotics, we need to do predictive analysis on our machines so that we know when they're going to break before they break so we can fix them before they go down. And there's an awful lot happening, and we've been doing this for 10 or 15 years. So the automation side I'm quite happy with, and that's a little bit more connected because it relates to the manufacturing processes generally, or it relates to compliance, or it relates to finance. Where there is a lot of very structured data, and therefore you can automate on the structured data. What a semantic layer is going to bring is automation on unstructured data. And then, of course, Copilot. Yeah, we have 2 versions of Copilot. We have 3 pilots starting with 6,000 users, so they're the ones I know about. We have the IT guys working out how to build software with Copilot, and then we have the IT guys trying to work out if Copilot is any use to the business. What we don't have is the business really getting involved yet. So we're not sure quite how they're going to decide, and now we've decided 6,000 users, let's get them using it. Let's find out what the business thinks, let's get it working properly for us. Yeah, we're not sure everybody needs to use it even. And then there's the costs involved, and every time you bring in a new system, like I say, we have 1,800 plus systems already. Do we need another one? Probably not. And then, of course, system vendors. I mean, generally, we have 30,000 suppliers anyway. We are basically a fabrication company, so we buy everything in and we put it all together. And that basically means that we also have a whole, we like buying stuff. So we've got all kinds of AI from all sorts of different people that works in all kinds of different ways. And this is really creating a very complex landscape for knowledge management to be able to function in, because we're saying, what is going on? Why is nothing talking to each other? We want stuff to flow from R&D through into customer support, for the feedback loops to come back and everything to run smoothly. And with this level of chaos, we can't do that. Basically, what we're saying is, this is what we have in terms of data. We have a massive big pile of dirty and disorganized data. I say dirty. When I say dirty data, I don't mean structured data. I mean unstructured data. SharePoint, we have automatic version control. So we have roughly, on average, between 100 and 300 versions of each document that is there. We don't have anything laid on it, so you don't know which one is the right one, because version 179 is the one that should be published and used, because that's right and that's correct. The ones after that are works in progress that people are still tweaking and using. But because we have no semantic layer and no way of labeling this stuff accurately, there's no way of knowing. It also means that when you lay AI over this, it's going to take all 300 versions. And you can't say use the latest one, because that might not be the right one. And I don't know if AI can fix that problem. I'm hoping it can, but it can help. It can certainly help. So what we want to do is we want to move to clean and disconnected semantic layers. This is kind of what's going on now with all the different AI projects. Of course, we have this beautiful tool called CogniSearch, which is used by about 2,000 of our engineers, which goes through all of our problem-solving materials and tells them what could be a possible solution to the problem. Usually gives them about 10 possible solutions. We're using large language models to create more summaries and to give them more insight, and that really helps. But as you notice, intentionally, and just quick thanks to Lego, because I know they're a bit nervous about people using their stuff. They're all disconnected. So the boat and the spaceship, they're working in very different contexts. They have very different purposes, which means that actually, although it's Lego and you can reuse the bricks to build something else, you're not going to be able to build a boat that floats on the moon. So clearly, we need to find a way to get through all of this complexity. So from a knowledge management perspective, we're talking about harmonization of language. Just let's create a common language across the organization with a clear set of definitions for the key elements. So not everything, because you'll end up with hundreds of thousands of terms, but a clear set of definitions so that the gas guy knows this is related to gas, and the water guy knows this is related to water. And we can do that with our semantic layers. We can talk about what things are, what they're about. We can talk about how they're related. So you can say, this is a pipe. It is for moving stuff through it, and it comes from this department, and therefore it's about gas. Or it comes from this part of the machine, and therefore it's about water. So by defining things and showing the relationships between them, we can really start to get a grip on all of this chaos, all of this fragmentation, and start getting things to communicate. And really, the semantic layer for me is really about creating that structure in your unstructured data. And when you start creating the structure in it, you can start integrating it. You can integrate it with your structured data much more easily, because your unstructured data always has a few gaps in it here and there. Because you'll find all of the documents that you need, but you'll be missing the expertise that someone has that puts it all together. So it's great to lay it over databases, and that means people can find all of this structured and unstructured data. They can use it. We can gain much better insights. But of course, it also misses the people element, which is the expertise. So we saw the beautiful triangle with data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. Yeah, knowledge isn't knowing the information, knowledge is the application of that information, and you gain knowledge through experience. The learning people always tell me, yeah, but we give them some learnings and then they learn the knowledge. You can't learn knowledge. You gain knowledge through applying the skills that you've learned, through applying the information that you have. And you get wisdom by having a million different mistakes and making a million different cock-ups. And that's how you gain the wisdom, because then you know the difference between things. And you know what you don't know, and you know where the gaps are. So what are we doing? Well, from a knowledge management perspective, really, what we're trying to do is define a common approach to taxonomy. So we're going to start simple. We're going to build a taxonomy. We're going to build the critical stuff, have clear definitions, have it well structured. We're then going to implement a taxonomy ontology management system. So let's centralize all of these things. Centralize, have one process for managing them, and put them all in one tool. Everybody will own their own little piece of this. They'll all own their own taxonomies, but we'll have a central group that's really making sure that they connect, that we know the difference between the definitions, and that we understand how these things relate to each other, so that the technology guys can talk to finance, finance can talk to HR, the customer support can talk to D&E, and that the systems that they all have can talk to each other, which I think is becoming the most important part as we move towards AI. So yeah, we have a common set of terms and definitions, not centrally owned, centrally managed, and then we can really start to uncover and unravel the complexities in the organization. We can start saying what the 40,000 plus acronyms and abbreviations we have, what they relate to, what they mean. We can make sure we have all the right synonyms in place. It is a big task, and I'm hoping that at some point AI is going to help us do this quicker. It can already, but the results that I've seen are pretty good, but it's not there yet. Again, back to our unique language. So we can't buy a solution off the shelf. We need to teach AI about our unique language. So these 3 steps are going to help us to have that unique language well defined, so that we can start connecting it to our different systems, and we can start bringing all the taxonomies into this central tool and really start connecting things together much more effectively, which in the end is going to inform all our different systems. It's going to connect all our different semantic layers together, and we're going to be able to create much more harmonization across the organization and really start having all of these different systems talk to each other. So basically what we're doing is we're agreeing upon a central approach. I think we've got buy-in now. We're going to take a central taxonomy management approach. Chief Data Office even offered me people and money, so we're doing something right. And we're setting up the technology, which we're in the process of. And that means that the common term sets can be created and managed properly. We are already creating them, but we need to manage them more appropriately. And then we can connect it to the systems, and we can really enable our applications. Basically, we're going to structure our unstructured data and connect it to our structured data so that our systems and our AI know what they're talking about. So our large language or small language models, whatever language models, know the language of ASML, understand is, maybe it's a computer, but can deal with that, they can manage that, and they are able then to give the right kind of output. So I love Lego, sorry, bit of a geek. But yeah, so our disorganized data goes into our slightly more organized semantic layers. These are our taxonomies and our ontologies, all very much fragmented. But basically the idea is that from that we can really start to create, bigger sets of Lego. Really create some insight and understanding. By putting these semantic layers together, you get a bigger picture. You can do this departmentally, you can do it based on your sectors, your structures. It doesn't really matter. The main idea of this is really to get to the bigger picture, which is the whole organization, understanding the organization and how it works, a bit like urban management. You know all the streets, you know where all the cars go, you know where your traffic jams are, you can change your traffic light system so that the cars flow through the city better. You know where people go shopping so that you can manage to a certain extent how all this movement and interactions work. The bigger picture. And basically you can make sure that your ASML world or your city of ASML, we do have 20,000 people working on our campus, so we are becoming a bit of a city. that actually this all connects together and is clear and transparent for people, and people can explore it and understand it and really see these relationships and how these things connect together. And of course, we're at the start of the journey. So just a little bit on where we are. This is a long journey. And as I say, I'm hoping AI catches up with us. I think it's almost there so that we can really start to automate putting structure in our unstructured data. Basically, what we're doing is we're creating understanding of the purpose and we're getting buy-in. So the first thing is convince the organization that we need to harmonize, that we need to start connecting and collaborating. We're doing quite a good job there, I think. The next step is really, like I say, have this central platform. It's in progress. We're starting to build it. We're starting to, well, build it. We've bought a solution, obviously, but we're starting to align our taxonomies and take a look at where the priorities are and starting to build and put these things together. And then really, yeah, we're aligning all of that. So as you build your taxonomies into your tooling, you get transparency on where the discrepancies are, where the differences are. You can start to align those together and really make those connections much stronger and really start building ontologies that actually know the difference between gas and water. And then, of course, we attach it to big impact systems. So there are, like I say, 80,000, 72 plus thousand SharePoint sites. That's lots of different systems, but it is one system, so we can lay it over the top. So we're really starting where we have the most impact. So the intranet is where everybody in the company goes. We have 42,000 users of the intranet. Let's make sure that what they see there is being presented in a common and harmonized way, because we want to start influencing people to understand the terminology that they should be using when they're looking for stuff and when they're talking to each other. And we can really do that through the intranet, because you do a search, you get your results, and it shows you the tags associated with those results. So you start to program people to start to think in a slightly different set of terminologies. And then, of course, SharePoint, because it's huge, it's super important, and it doesn't have any company secret data in it, so there's a no risk, which means we can sell it to our senior management. We can say we're going to just automate taxonomy and metadata tagging, and then you'll be able to find stuff better. We'll be able to connect it and push it to people. And then we can use all that terminology to really build in our expert profiles and start automating our expert profiles based on their behavior in these systems. And then we can really start helping people understand what we've got and what we're doing. And then we connect it to the artificial intelligence. So my idea is you build an AI tool. Basically, the first thing you need to do is understand how to structure the unstructured data. And we can lay a semantic layer. We can join our semantic layers together. And then our AI is really going to understand the language of the company. But we can also start looking for the use cases that connect all of these different systems together so that we can start looking for signals and signs. So I'm pretty convinced that we can see where there is a problem that needs to be fixed permanently before it starts to happen based on the discussions that are going on across our organization. And we can't do that because these discussions are happening in very separate places. And if we can somehow connect that together with AI, then we're much more able to move forward and advance more quickly. And that was my story. And of course, the data office should be here because it's super important for them. Because actually what they're saying is we're struggling to define these terms. So the taxonomy will help the data define the structured data, and the unstructured data will have the same definitions. Everybody knows a location has a factory or not, and everybody is happy. I'm hoping that was clear.
Well done and wonderful, Daniel. You didn't disappoint. There is a question here, and then we'll open up the audience for a couple more. If people have different understanding of the same term or acronym, how do you even deal with the challenges of different languages?
Yeah, that's a good question. Basically, what we do is we explain that your acronym is not unique. That's the first thing. Somebody else is using the same acronym. With people, it's easy because you can just say, oh, you mean this, or do you mean that? With our systems, what we need to do is build those acronyms into our term sets and our definitions. That's quite a job, but I think we can do it. All our acronyms are clearly defined. And then what you're able to do is say, hey, in this system, these are the sets of acronyms. This system belongs to this team, and this team means these things with those acronyms. And then your large language model knows if it comes out of this system, it's related to that definition. The challenge comes when the same team uses two different acronyms, or the same acronym for two different things, or two different acronyms for the same thing. And that, yeah, we have to discuss, and we have to say, stop doing this, guys, this is madness. But yeah, I mean, basically it's about the definitions. So if you have clear definitions of your terms, and you associate the right acronyms and abbreviations to those terms, and you associate that with the system and the part of the business, then you can really clear that whole mess up for your technology, at least. And then when someone searches on an acronym, you can say, which one of these definitions do you mean? And it becomes much clearer for people that actually acronyms are not such a good idea. For knowledge management, please don't use acronyms. It doesn't make any sense. For data, absolutely, master data management is all acronyms, as far as I can tell. So please carry on. But please define them clearly and associate them to the context and the background in your organization.
Perhaps another question for Daniel? Yeah.
Daniel, your journey is amazing and inspiring. What's it worth? Is there a dollar value attached to you delivering this journey? I mean, it's what Malcolm said earlier. What's it worth to the company to get this right?
So we did some surveys. Basically, we're about industry average. It takes 7 hours a week of our organization, spend 7 hours a week looking for information, looking for people, trying to work out whether what they find is relevant or not. It's about 18% of time. So what we're saying is, yeah, our vision is to reduce that by 50%. But what we're saying in the first pilots is we will, by applying it to our intranet, we will save everybody in the company 30 seconds. So they'll have 30 seconds more time to do other stuff. If you do a productivity calculation, it's about 1.6 million. The pilots are investing about half of that, so that's a good business case. But if we reduce it by 5 minutes across the organization, then we're getting into 5, 6, 7, 8 million, 9 million. And if we reduce it by more, then we get much more productivity. So it's a productivity cost calculation at the moment. What I get back is 1.6 million is about 10 people. Which 10 people is it in the organization? So who can I fire? And we say, no, that's 10 people that you can get to do additional work, but actually it's for everybody. And I think the biggest one for me is it reduces frustration. It reduces the frustration and the aggravation people have looking for stuff. And for me, that's priceless. And I think most of our senior management see that and understand that to a certain extent, at least.
One more, please. Yeah.
So you didn't need a business case internally to bring that through because, well, finally the questions also Malcolm was referring to.
I got lucky. On my in my steering committee, we have the chief information officer, the head of IT. We have the head of the factory, the head of development and engineering. And I presented, we need to do taxonomy and harmonize our language. And they all looked at each other and said, that's a no-brainer, let's do it. Now we're starting to roll, and we're no longer a priority. Then now we have to build slightly stronger business cases. But yeah, that reducing time to knowledge is fairly fundamental, because that's what's slowing everything down.
Excellent. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.